welcome to today's episode of TalkNRoll with Hawk and the Captain and Vanessa from Ratio Strains going to be here with us co-hosting today. Today we have Alma from Coatl, a Latino band from California. Can you tell us about yourself?
Hi everyone. So my name is Alma and I'm the singer and guitarist for a band called Coatl. I know it's a little weird, but hang in there. I'll tell you the story about our weird name. So as you were mentioning, we are all we have a Mexican background. We're all Mexican, but of course we grew up here in the States. We're all LA natives, so we're out here in California, in Los Angeles, Long Beach, downtown LA, and yeah, we've been going at it for a while. We play alternative metal, and I'm really happy to be here in the show.
Well, thanks for dropping by. I found you when we were talking before I started recording. I found you through Instagram, because you can go through and it has the music, and your music caught me. And the one that really caught me was your new one, which was Anunnaki. And as we talked before, I knew Coatl. Yeah, I'll pronounce it the horrible English way, because I grew up loving ancient aliens, Chariots of the Gods and stuff, and it was Quetzalcoatl was the one I knew, which was the winged serpent. And I was like, I know that means serpent, and and then you had Anunnaki. So how did that come to be? Was the fascination with the Anunnaki from history or from the History Channel?
Well, the name Goat, we decided when we first started the band, we were kids. We were like 17, and growing up an immigrant kid is hard because you don't really have like an identity. You're not like fully Mexican because the fully Mexican kids are kind of like and then you're not fully American because the fully American kids are kind of like So growing up, it's hard to find your identity. So when we started the band, we were studying a lot about like Mexican history, about the natives, and of course, Chariot of the Gods was a big influence on us when we were kids. And so we thought, you know what, this we need a name that's gonna like take us back to our roots. And so we chose Goat because it means serpent. And the serpent is just such an enigmatic animal. And if you go into like History Channel, they have so many episodes on what the serpent is, the historical importance of it, the mythical importance of it. And so that's how the name came about. Now, Anunnaki, this is like you said, a song from our new album. And we wrote it because last year we were studying a lot about like the whole Sumerian, um, I guess if you want to call it a theory about the human race being a hybrid, and we got really into it. Myself and Israel, who's the other singer and guitarist in the band, and I got really inspired, and that's how I wrote the lyrics and I wrote that song. So yeah.
Cool. It's nice when people can take their passion, stuff they get fascinated by, and move it into their passion, their music and stuff like that. I find that cool. So, I mean, I wrote music about dumb stuff like about video games, movies, and comic books, but yeah, I'm not.
I'm totally up for it. I'm I'm all into it. Look, I have a Pokemon tattoo, so
It's
so
not,
I'm like a big nerd.
and that works out great. My comic book shop just got turned into a Pokestop, so I sit there when I'm supposed to be working. I'll be like,
Right?
"Catch a Pokemon." I got wait a minute. I got to wait on customers now. Okay, what can I help you? So, when did you guys get started? Since you said you got started young, 17.
Yeah, yeah. So we started officially, like our first show was in 2003. So you could do the math. That was a long time ago. And yeah, we've been going at it ever since. The two founding members are myself and Israel. And of course, we've had a lot of lineup changes. Things happen, but right now I feel like we're pretty tight, and we have a really nice relationship with everyone. And yeah, we're still playing after all these years.
Yeah, that's a pretty good run. 20 years, 2003. That's
Yeah.
that's that's a, that's almost an epic run in music nowadays. So, you and Israel, were you friends, relatives? How'd you get together with him to begin with?
We met in high school. So
Okay.
back in the day, it wasn't so common to see, like the rocker kids, the metal kids, especially not where we come from. It was more like just, regular kids. So seeing another fellow metalhead was like, oh my God, this guy with long hair. Like, okay. So I've always been into music. I grew up singing in like church festivals and talent shows and stuff like that. And so I started playing guitar when I was 14, and I met Israel when I was 17. I was like in high school, and I was just attracted to him, like drawn to him, because he was in the same like style and everything. And I asked him like, hey, do you play an instrument? And he was like, no, but I write, like poetry or whatever. I'm like, okay, that's good enough. That's all I need. And then just so happens that his brother, um he was a really cool dude. He was a DJ. And so I said, well, if he's a DJ, he has to have some kind of sense of rhythm. So how about we make him a drummer? And yeah, and we convinced him to buy a drum set, and we auditioned a bass player, and that's how the band came about.
So you conned the DJ into becoming a drummer. That's See,
Yeah.
this is the opposite way
I
of
like
Vanessa
that.
down there.
Yeah.
She went from a drummer to a DJ.
Oh, there.
Well,
See,
music
anything's
producer, yeah,
Yeah, she's a
possible.
yeah.
music producer. Yeah. So yeah, she's putting out industrial more now, right? So
Yeah, yeah, like more noise. But yeah, I also grew up in the LA area, so it's just interesting to hear kind of what you're talking about. And I'm also half like Native American Mexican, so kind of like what you're talking about. I don't speak any Spanish, so don't ask me. But yeah, just kind of what you're saying about, trying to find those roots and everything. That's really, really cool and admirable, especially because there's not a lot of musicians that have that kind of background. Or, it's really underrepresented as far as, the Latin Mexican culture. I think I recall the band Redbone was the first like Native American, all Native American band, so it's cool to see more representation.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, definitely.
we got lucky. One of our first interviews we did was a band called Brexer, and those guys are really good. In Mexico, matter of fact, we had issues because they were in Mexico and we were not getting the best signal, but we did do the interview, and good bunch of guys out of they're south of Texas, so they're Mexico, but like
Oh, in the middle.
middle, yeah. So and you talk about being, you first generation American or
Me, yeah,
yes, yeah,
first.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because my wife and my kids, which is funny because I had to explain this to my dad. They're only My wife's only second generation, and my kids are third because my mother-in-law's the first generation, and but she's Polish, so we got to deal with the whole fact that she grew up in a my wife's what we say part hillbilly, part Polish, and that's how that works. she's she's multi-generational American kind of. So,
Yeah.
um, but do you use the Latino heritage, put it in your music, and to embrace it in your music, I should say, I guess.
Yes, definitely. So when we first started the band, we were also, since we were studying a lot about our culture, um we got a lot into like the pre-Hispanic dance. So the danza azteca, which is like pre-Hispanic dancers, and they have these really cool tribal beats. And so we wanted to have a band that incorporated that, because back in the day, it wasn't really common to see a metal band with like the pre-Hispanic drums and like the Aztec dancers on stage. So that was like our thing. We wanted to do that, and then we did get very lucky to be able to collaborate with a lot of different musicians and dance groups. And to this day, we still feature dancers on stage. Our new album has a song where we featured um, a guest musician who does the native instruments, and he even says a few verses in Nahuatl, which is like the ancient language of the Aztecs.
Hmm.
And so we're definitely still we're still a bilingual band. Now we have a lot more songs in English than in the beginning, but we do try to like incorporate that a lot and to maintain like our heritage and our roots.
Yeah. Uh, just a heads up, we did lose Hawk. He's not feeling real good, so he had to bail.
Oh.
But he's also wrangling the puppies, and he said they're not calming down. So, but yeah, he's got some issues he's dealing with. He's health issues, so we'll move on. But um, well, what's really cool is that I was listening to some of your other music, and I found it in Spanish. And right now, I was joking with Hawk because he's old. I'm the older of the two, but he's one's very set in his music. I'm the one who's open to a lot of stuff, and he was sitting there going because he was listening. He goes, all I've been listening to is Metallica and Pantera lately. I'm like, I haven't even been listening to stuff in English. I've been listening to Alien Weaponry. I've been listening to The Who, and then I was listening to your band. So I was listening, like, I'm not even listening to English right now, and he's listening to that. But I'm like, it's cool that even though I know very little Spanish, I can still dig it. It's still something cool. You can still hear it. You still feel it. And I find that really awesome that even though, like I said, I speak very little, that it can still, I can get into it. My head will start bobbing and stuff like that. I like it. I do. So I guess it's a, big thumbs up because you can
Oh.
enjoy it without knowing what it's about.
Well, thank you. Thank you
Yep.
so much for that.
Yeah.
How do you determine what song is going to be in English and Spanish? Because you said that it started with Spanish and then,
Yeah.
kind of went into English. And I know, for example, I have friends that are from Sweden, right? But they only sing in English because it's kind of common, depending on the language, it's going to change the cadence of the song. So how do you choose how you're going to formulate the song?
I think we just let the song, speak for itself because the songs that we sing in Spanish, I've had people suggest like, "Hey, you should translate it." But then when I tried the translation, I'm like, "No, it just doesn't sound the
Right.
same. It's not the same passion. It's not the same, you know." And so our first song in English is called "Animal Liberation," and it's about animal rights and like, I guess just super pro animal, and there's no way I could have just sang it in Spanish. Like it would have been lost in translation. That anger and that fierceness probably wouldn't have translated as well. And so when we wrote Animal Liberation, we were like, that was like our first English song, and we were like, should we translate this? And we're like, you know what, whatever. It needs to be in this language with this feeling and with this message, and that's how we decided however the song feels and whatever sounds best, then we're just not going to fight it, we're going to leave it.
Because the passion, I guess, differentiates when you sing it in Spanish compared to English. If you are really passionate about the Spanish version, you're not going to have that same amount of passion or in the English translated version. And I can, like I said, I was listening to the Who and stuff like that, and you can hear the difference in the English version to the Mongolian version, and I think the Mongolian version has more passion behind it, even though they have like American singers singing the or I don't know because some of them aren't American, but you have English speaking speakers singing and I don't think it's still good, but it doesn't have the you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
there's a lot of sayings I know in Spanish that would they just don't translate that well in English because I've
Yes.
a lot of Spanish population and they'll say things and they'll kind of tell me what it means, but they're
Hmm.
like certain things you can say in Spanish and go, oh, I know what that means, but to translate it,
Uh-huh.
it just doesn't have the same feel.
Yeah, yeah. So like we have one song that was really popular. It's called Flores de Muerto. And then if you translate that, it means flower of the dead. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like it's not really
Yeah.
it doesn't roll off my tongue as nicely as Flor de Muerto. Right away you're like, oh,
Yeah.
Flor
Yeah,
de
it sounds so
Muerto.
like, yeah, ooh, what is that?
Right?
It's the genericness of the English language that because muerto, it sounds so much better than dead.
Right,
Just
flower of the dead, like okay.
well, it's literally like before I came here, I was talking to my buddy at the comic shop, and we were talking about people he's worked with, people I've worked with. They're Spanish speaking, and it's funny because then when he tried to translate, it was like it's not cool. It's not cool. So, but I gotta ask, who inspired you to pick up the guitar?
um You know what? I think the Runaways, like just seeing Lita Ford freaking iconic with this Explorer guitar that's like bigger than her, and just like with, seeing Cherie Curry with her like little corset, it was just so inspiring to see these young 16-year-old girls doing their thing on stage and having that power and that confidence. And I think that just seeing their images was like, that's what I want to do. That's who I want to be. And, when I first came across them, I was around that age. I was like 14, 15. So, and then Kitty was like booming at that time. So they were pretty big. And seeing these young girls, like modern day rock stars, I was like, oh, damn, like that's what I need to be doing with my life.
And I've met Kitty a couple times. Grounded. They're super like I'm super friendly, super nice. I mean, legit. The one was hanging out. I'm like sitting at the table, and I look over and I look at my wife, and I went, "Is that?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Hi." And she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine." I'm like, "Can I ask you a question?" She's like, "I was like, are you a real estate agent?" She's like, "Yes, I'm a real estate agent too." Like, I was not expecting that. I thought that was bullshit that the internet put out there. But
They were so influential for women. You know, when Kitty, I remember when Kitty came out, it was like, wow, girls can do that too. I mean, girls could before, but Kitty, I think, kind of put that out there in the forefront. I remember I saw Kitty at Ozfest, I think in 2000, and just to see that live, to see just these women just killing it. Yeah, I get you though. You see that, how to do that.
Right? It's so
yeah,
exciting. You're like, like, it's just like mind blowing, So definitely they were a huge influence on me growing up.
it's cool to see, people your age, especially as a teenager, because every teenager's like, I'm gonna rule the world in this band, I'm gonna and then you see the actual band like your age kicking ass out there, and you're like, yeah, I got this. I can do this. Yeah. It, and it, because I grew up and we play, every dumb white guy in my area thought they could be in a band, and we all tried and we all failed miserably. And you're still kicking ass 20 years later. That's amazing. So
It's not easy, It hasn't been easy. We did take a break in 2015. We took a 3-year break. I was just, I needed to work on myself. I wasn't enjoying it anymore, but it was just like, that time when you're growing up and you realize, okay, I need to like get myself together and like really like uh handle like all these things that I've been ignoring for all these years. And so I mean it sounds so cliche, but like I went to India and then like had my whole life changed and then came back and then got into music again. So we like reset in 2018. So it was like 2018 we came in full force. 2019 we started like touring and doing stuff like hanging out to Mexico, recording, and then 2020 happened, and it was like, Oh dang. But it was kind of perfect for us because not having any shows or any pressure, we just worked on being better musicians, and we wrote a whole album. So it's been a good run.
See, we've interviewed a lot of bands. Either A, the the pandemic hit and they formed a band, or they took that time off to perfect their band.
Yes.
And yes, so I mean, it's being able to do that. You're like, yeah, take a negative, turn into a positive. So you take the fact that we shut down and be like, yeah, we'll perfect this and get it better. So,
Yes.
so is that the current lineup that you guys got back together in 2020 after?
Yes.
Yes.
So when we stopped playing, we stayed friends, like especially with the bassist because he has been in the band for like I think like 9 years. So he was with us since before we split, and then when we split, it was very amicable. It was just I was very honest. I said I need to get myself together. Like I can't do this, right? And they were like, okay, cool, go to India, do your shit, you know. And so when I came back, I was like, all right, I think let's do this. And they were like, okay, let's do it. And we just auditioned the new drummer, and he's been with us ever since. So since like 2018 to present day. And then we added a third guitarist, and he's basically a friend from the scene that we've known for many years, and he would jam with us on stage, play a song here and there. But when we started recording our album in 2020, I asked him like, hey, do you want to like play a couple solos on some of the songs? And he was like, yeah. And then he just came, and next thing you know, we're like, you want to be in the band? Okay, all right, cool. And we had a third guitarist.
Do you have a set, like two leads, co-leads, a rhythm? How do you do the three guitarists?
Again, we just let when we write, we just let the whoever writes whichever part. It's not like, oh no, you can only play lead and I can only play. No, it's kind of like, okay, whoever comes up with it, cool. And then there's also some parts where I can't really like sing and play because either the melody is too complicated, like Anunnaki. I wrote the whole thing, I recorded most of the guitar parts, but I can't play it for my life on stage. Like I just can't sing and play, like so I need the guys to back me up on it. So I think that's where the third guitarist comes in really handy.
Nice. Well, I've always liked the multiple singers and the basically open guitar players, because I think that's it helps the band. It doesn't make it so like one person controls, I guess. What I want to say,
Yeah.
but it's because you get those bands that as I've told people this my story about my old band. I wrote music with my drummer. We were going to be different. So we had two drummers and we formed this band. And I always wanted to do it. So if you wrote the song, you created a song, that's your song. If you want to sing it, you sing it because you're the one that's got the emotion behind it because you're the one that created it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost instantly the other guys, well, he's a better singer. I'm like, it doesn't matter if he's a better singer. I want whoever writes whatever to do what they want to do. If you do a drum solo, you wrote a drum solo, that's your drum solo. If you wrote a guitar, that's yours. If you sang, that's. And I think that's kind of cool to see bands that can do that. Like I said, mine imploded almost instantly when we tried to do that. So having a band that can be without ego, as I could say, because everybody wants to be the lead guitar person, everybody wants to be the lead singer because they're up front. And if you can hide that ego or push that ego aside, I think that's just better for the band. And I think that that's working great for you from what I've listened to your songs on, online and stuff. And I think it's great. So, uh, as I'm babbling, so
No, thank you, thank
yeah.
you.
Well, it's
But
like a marriage, right? They say that being in a band is basically a marriage
Oh
because
my God, yes. I'm married to like four other guys. And, it's something I've learned like when I was younger. it's kind of like when you first start a band, you're like, oh, it's us four versus the world. We're never gonna break up, and if one person is missing, it's like the apocalypse. And then I realized, no, man, like if somebody wants to be here, they're gonna be here, and if they can't be here, I can't take it personal. And all I can do is like just make everyone feel loved and appreciated. And it's just like a relationship. If you don't give your love, your appreciation, include everybody, give everybody their dues, and say, hey, you're an amazing guitarist, let me feature you on the page today. And it's not all about the singer, and it's not all about the frontman. And I think that's what's really helped us be doing this for this long. Just having a good relationship and treating it like that, like we're family. And it's business, but it's also personal, and we have to take care of each other.
Do you think that you're going to India and getting your head straight and stuff like that? Do you think that you could have continued to band without doing that, or do you think that that reset and made it so that your passion was back for the band?
Yeah, definitely not. No, I don't think it would have lasted. It was just like it gets to a point where if you don't deal with like your inner demons,
Hmm.
it spills out. It kind of kills the vibe, and your creativity just shuts down. So if you're not in a good, happy creative space, it's really hard to create music. And also, if you come in and you're moody and you're like not vibing with everybody, that just kills the chemistry. And music, I feel, is like 90% magic. It's like 90% this mystical thing, and like 10% technique. Because there's some amazing musicians that can't play a scale. Like if you ask them like, okay, play this scale, they're like, but they could come up with these amazing melodies, and you're like, where the hell did that come from? Like you're a shitty guitar player, but you're an amazing like composer. And so I think it's like 90% magic and like 10% technique. And if the magic's not there, then you know
Yeah, and it helps when you get your head on straight. I mean,
yes.
yeah, because to be honest, I didn't get my head on straight till I was like 40, and I couldn't imagine getting my head on straight when I was young. That'd be insane. Um, but it's yeah, you're you can hear the passion in the music, and that's something that is very rare because there's so many bands that are just churning it out, just putting out a new album, putting out a new album, putting out a new album that they don't have any feeling in. But if you go back to their old stuff, you're like, that's where the passion is. This is a paycheck. This is passion.
Yeah.
This is a paycheck. And you can tell. And that's sad. And that's even huge bands that I still love to this day. Those later albums, you're just like, that's a paycheck album. That's I gotta buy a new house album. But
Well, I think things plateau. Anything can plateau when you're in it for such a long
oh yeah.
time. You can get burnout and you sit there and you
Yes.
go, well, why am I here? What is my purpose? What am I doing? So that's what actually what I was going to ask you, Alma, is, you said you took the time away. And you've been in this band for so long. How do you personally recognize when you have that plateau, and what do you do to keep that longevity of a band? Because it is hard to keep a band that long and to have the passion and creativity for something that long.
Yeah, definitely. So I knew it was time to just quit when it became a drag. As independent artists, we're not making a dime. We're investing every single
Yeah.
dime we have into this, right? And so when you love it, it doesn't matter. You'll sell your kidney to finance a tour. Like it sounds extreme, but I'm pretty sure a ton of musicians have thought about that.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
what do I sell? Like, you want my hair? Here, take it. But just book me on this tour. Um, Record this album. And so when you're passionate, nothing is a sacrifice. Everything is a blessing. You see everything as a blessing, the good and the bad. But when you're not enjoying it, then all of a sudden it becomes a drag, it becomes a sacrifice, and you start noticing like, whoa, I'm spending all my money on this, I'm spending all my time. And so that's when I knew I had to call it. I had to be like, okay, no. And and just deal with the issues, that the unhappiness that I had inside me. And so yeah, I took some time off, and I went to India. I studied, like, I got more into like spirituality and like self development. And when I came back, I because I had done the work, like I had taken the time to see what went so wrong, and why I was so unhappy, that when I came back, I was like, you know what, now we're gonna do this from like a better place. And like I was saying earlier, now I try to focus on having everybody, just not making people happy, but keeping a really good positive space, and really like nurturing everyone's talents. And if I notice that somebody is like aching in some area, what's wrong with you, how are you, like what's going on? And I feel that giving your bandmates support and holding that space for them is what ultimately makes the band stronger. Because if one of us is not in the same vibe as the others, in the same space, then that's going to drag everybody down, and that kind of like snowballs into people not wanting to see your show because they could sense that something's wrong, into promoters not booking you because you're not responding, you don't seem enthusiastic versus somebody who is. So I think just having a good space, holding a strong good space, is what keeps it all together.
We had this discussion on one of the last shows about bands that they are not connected. They're just guys in a group. And then,
Yeah.
we had a friend's band who, three of the guys were partiers, one guy was hardcore straight edge. One of the guys was, all about the lady hooking up with the ladies on tour. And one guy was a devout family man, but you still had all these guys. And when you can bring, and they all they did was kind of infight, they weren't never comfortable with each other. When you can keep the I guess the calm, and you can, you're always looking after your band. You're out there, like you said, you're asking them if they need help, if there's something wrong. And that's great. That's amazing. Because like I said, I've seen so many bands, local bands, implode because they don't really like each other. They just,
I don't think people talk about that enough, honestly. They don't
yeah,
talk about the mental health check that it takes
Yes,
yes,
to
that
be in
right
a band.
there.
Yeah, the work-life balance
yeah. Well,
of being in a band.
well, there's so many of these guys that I know that they're on tour, or they're this, their family life suffer from it, their friendships suffer from it. They're in a van, you know,
Getting no sleep.
no sleep. They're piled on top of each other. They don't like each other that well, anyways. All they can do, and then they're touring, and and they take that home, or they take it and they bring it to the band instead of being, you know, cooperative and working together. A lot of bands, I think, actively work against each other, and I think it's crazy that they do that. And to hear you like reaching out, like you're like, I found spiritualism, expand my spiritualism in India, and then you come back and you're like trying to help your fellow bandmates, and if they need problems, looking out for them. And I know people that be like, yeah, well, they got problems, not my problem. I'm like, it's just my band that is my livelihood. No, but it's in touring. I could see taking a lot out of people, and I don't know how big your touring circle is, how far you've gone. And I just know people that tour like in the around Ohio.
Just
And
playing one show is tiring. Just playing a show is tiring.
but I couldn't
It's
imagine
so,
being in a car.
yeah, it's so easy to get into a fight during one show to begin with.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
oh, someone forgot this cable or did X, Y, and Z. It's so easy.
That's
yeah,
You
yeah.
have to have that communication.
Yes.
and never ever 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 hook up with a significant other of another band member.
Yeah, we've had that in our
every,
20
I
year
think that's
run.
every band we've talked to, is somebody is hooked up with somebody else's significant other from the band. You're just like, oh, okay. This is the big disclaimer. If anybody takes anything from this show, never hook up with your somebody from a band significant
Oh my
other.
God, I know.
What are we
I've had
doing?
quite a few bands where my boyfriend or my husband was in the band. So that's another like just don't do it.
Don't do it. So, okay. I always ask this question. I asked two questions. Name your first band, or is this your first?
But this
Uh,
is, I mean, I've tried being in other bands, but it just didn't, for some reason it just never really gelled. Like I auditioned and kind of like, went to a couple of rehearsals and everything with this other band who at the time, was doing pretty good. It was an all-girl band called Ophelia Rising. And man, these girls were so cool. I was like this dorky, like, young teenager, and they were like these Marilyn Manson, like, glam songs. I was like, holy crap, right? So I learned a lot from them, just being around them and seeing how they behaved and interacted. But unfortunately, they had some stuff going on too, and whatever. They never really like did anything. And at the time, I was starting Coatl, so I was like, okay, well, you guys aren't really like, you know, one member was in jail, the other one had like boyfriend issues. I was like, oh my god, like, okay, well, I'm just gonna focus on my band. So that was the end of that. And then I started another band with another girl, but she was going to college, and her parents were like, no, you're gonna be a lawyer. And then I tried to join a Kiss tribute band that was supposed to be Ace Frehley, but I don't know what happened there. Like we only had like one or two rehearsals, and then I think they broke up or something. So I've just been really unlucky. I don't think anybody wants me in their band. That's why I had to
you
start
talk
my
about being
own.
unlucky. Your first band is the band you're still
Yeah,
in
I
20
know.
years later. That never happens. And
Yeah,
I,
that's
I
it.
guess I guess unless you're like John Bonham, or not,
Right, yeah.
yeah, these guys who, yeah. I was the first band you were ever in was Led Zeppelin, first and only band you were ever in.
Or like actually, well, no, like Faith No More too. I think they all went to high school together. They're an old high
Yeah,
school rap
yeah.
band.
They actually went
Or
to
yeah,
school with
Mr.
some of the
Bungle.
guys from
Yeah.
Metallica.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
this is crazy.
Oh, I wish we went to that school.
That's
Right?
the whole Bay Area thing was insane. That all those huge bands came out of a very small, but yeah, the oh, here's the weirdest thing I found out relatively recently, and this has nothing to do with metal or anything like that. I watch wrestling, whatever, but there's a wrestler named Jeff Jarrett, and his daughter's babysitters when they were little is Taylor Swift.
Oh, wow.
I'm just like, how, and I'm like, okay, that's weird.
Talk about bragging rights,
Yeah,
I
right?
know.
yeah, my daughter should be babysitted by Taylor Swift, whatever. She's a billionaire now, but yeah, whatever.
No big deal.
No. I'm like, I think it's weird when I know people who end up becoming famous later, and you're like, I knew him back in the day when he was, a nerdy guy in high school. Now he's no. But okay. Here's the second question I always ask everybody. Tour horror stories. Do you have any tour horror stories?
Oh God, yes. I think the worst thing that's happened, well, there's a couple of really bad things that have happened to me, but the worst one, we were playing in Tijuana, in Mexico. Yeah.
That's all you gotta say. That's in Tijuana.
Hey,
So
there's
that
there's
that
a there's
alone
a good
just
scene. There's a good scene out there, but yeah,
it's an
it's a rough.
amazing scene. But so the place was packed, sold out, packed. We played a bad show, like a badass show. We were so hyper. And then the club was packed, so I was like, okay, we finished our set, and I went downstairs because it was hot. And I saw, those people outside in the parking lot drinking and having fun. And I saw my friends that were in a car. And so I go over to them and I'm like, hey, you guys got any water or soda or something? I'm dying. I'm thirsty. And they were like, yeah, come in. We have some water bottles here. We have some beer. And I was like, no, I don't want to drink. I just need some water to hydrate my throat. Whatever. So then I go in the car. We're sitting there, and all of a sudden the police comes and everybody runs. But we're in the car, so we're like, whatever. And we're not even drinking. There is alcohol in the car, but we're not drinking. Everybody's sober. So we're like, eh. And then the police comes and then they're like, I'm like, ah, shit, here we go. So then they make us get out the car. And then next thing you know, I'm inside the police car and they took me to jail. So I got arrested. And it was the scariest thing, like being arrested.
In
You
Tijuana,
know,
yeah.
you're like in Mexico and you're like, I don't even have my wallet on me. Like I look like a hooker because I just got off stage with, you know, all this makeup and like skimpy outfit. And I'm like, oh my God. But I'm, you know, things, the promoter came and he sorted everything out. But it was really scary because they didn't even take, they took me and another female friend and a drummer from the main band, which is the main reason why the promoter made sure he got him out. If not, there was going to be like a riot or something. Um, but yeah, they took us to like the men's jail, so that was really scary. There was all these like drunk men in cells, and I was like, oh man, like I want to be here. So I think that was like the worst that's happened to us, you know, touring.
Damn. See, we've had horror stories. We had like a one band member pulled a knife on another band member on stage during a show. Um, it's so fun hearing these horror stories. And one band has come back and they're like, "Can you edit that out because we don't want the guy to get back." Then like, dude, I'm fine. I will edit out the guy's name. We'll just edit out the whole story. No problem. No problem. We took care of that. But I've heard horror stories of people playing in Tijuana, and I know, like I said, I know some wrestlers, and they've been down there, and you hear the where the police will come in and arrest people and basically kind of blackmail them to get money so they can get back out on stage or whatever. And they
Very
think, oh
common.
yeah, you're in a band, you're over here playing, you got to make money.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there going, you need to give us $1,200 American. He's like, I don't have 1,200 bucks. I don't have 1,200 bucks in my bank. He goes, I don't know what the hell is it. And he goes, we had to have them like get a hold of some. They're like, okay, basically go to like a Western Union and had them like their parents' Western Union money to them to bail them out of jail. And I'm like, it's extortion. They're like, it's Mexico. It's Tijuana, man. It's pretty much cartel run now. I'm like, is it? Or is it? I don't know. I haven't been to Tijuana since I was a little kid, so I couldn't tell you. Um, sorry. Um, so I do got to ask when you because I keep going back to India here. Did you bring like any influences from India to your music?
Yes, a whole lot.
Okay.
Well, I had been into like classical Indian music since, you know, since I first started learning how to play guitar. I was listening to like, it all started, of course, with the Beatles, with George Harrison, and
Hmm.
then that's how I got into Ravi Shankar and all these like other Indian artists. So even like in our first album, like if you play the very first album, the first song is like an instrumental, and you could hear the influence. In our new album, the last song is actually um a mantra, like one of my favorite mantras, and I sing it in Sanskrit and then I sing it in English and Spanish, and you could just hear, you know, the influence. And yeah, definitely Indian music is one of my passions. I love it. I wish I could sing like classical Carnatic music, but you know, that's really hard.
Well, everything they do over in India is musical. I've found that out because I worked at a hotel and I worked for Indians, and we'd be sitting there watching movies, and I'm like, did they just stop the entire movie to have a dance scene and sing? He's like, yeah.
Yes,
I'm like,
Bollywood.
I was like, is
Oh,
that
it's
every movie? And he's
amazing.
like, yeah. I'm like watching a horror movie, and all of a sudden it's like, are they, I, did I grab the wrong? Did something happen? Literally huge dance scene, musical scene right in the middle of a movie about the Naga. So I'm like, okay, okay, this works. So who are your influences right now? If you
I
got any?
think, yeah, yeah, definitely. Lately I've been listening to a lot of Nine Inch Nails. Like when I was younger, I didn't really appreciate. I don't feel like I appreciated Trent Rensor's genius as much as I do now. Now I'm like, holy crap! Like this is really good. And so I've been listening to a lot of Nine Inch Nails, and of course David Bowie is like one of my all-time. big influences. And as far as like the more modern stuff, it's kind of hard. Like I haven't really listened to anything really modern that has blown my mind. I think like the last band where I was like, this is really cool was probably like early Ghost, when they came out with their second album, and it was really like, whoa, what is this, right? But I haven't found any modern day bands that really blow my mind, or are super fresh and original.
It is kind of hard to find some original sounds nowadays, but when you do, it's amazing.
Yes.
My wife hates it because I buy records all the time. She's like, "Do you need that many?" I was like, "Ah, but they're so good. I just discovered this band. They're awesome." It's like 18 people have heard this song, but I'm the one of the 18 people.
Right? Hey, you listen to us, so
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, it's
You'd
with the
have to go
internet
down
and
the
stuff.
rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's a hell of a
That's
rabbit
what,
hole.
yeah.
It's, well, and have you found what does better for you to get people your music out there? Is it Instagram? Is it YouTube? Is it, what's the best that's worked for you so far?
Well, lately I've been investing in like Instagram ads, and I think that's probably how you found me. Like I just um run ads, and I don't even like put a target audience. I've tried it and failed miserably. So I was like, I'll just let Instagram figure it out. Like, I'll let them do it. So that has helped, and then also just doing interviews like here with you, because a lot of people who are looking for different music, for something for more indie, they watch podcasts like yours. So this has also been super helpful. A lot of podcasts, magazines, just word of mouth, like that's really come in handy too, where I'll hear from somebody who's like, oh, my friend's brother told me about your band, and I'm like, cool.
Yeah, it is. Was somebody told me that the current state of music is a blessing and a curse because you can find all this new music, but there is all this new music.
It's very
So
oversaturated.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that makes sense. But so you got to be like proactive and be out there, like making sure people keep yours in the forefront. So, um, now when you put together an album, do you do you come up with a concept? Or do you just do? Because I know a lot of bands right now are doing just singles to keep people interested, and then they do an album at the end. So how do you do your production on your albums?
So for this current album, we did start with one song. So we did a song called "Low." We launched that in October 2022. So that was kind of like us letting people know, like, hey, we're still here. There's still new music. So we launched the song as a single, and we did a video for it. And then after that, like in April, we launched Corporate Overlords, which was the second single. We did a video for that. And then in September, when we finally, because making an album is expensive. It's pricey and it's
Hmm.
time consuming. So we finished the album, and then we launched it, like the full album, in September. And so that kept us kind of relevant throughout the whole year. So from like the end of 2022 all the way to like September 2023, we were just throwing, music and previews and like snippets. And so that's how we launched it. But as far as the songwriting, same, like Low came was, we had this really great song. We're like, let's just record it, throw it out there. Because if we wait until we have the full album, by the time we write the whole album, it's probably not even going to sound like that anymore, and it's just going to lose its momentum and magic. But the other songs from the album, they all came about around the same time when we were like in the studio, and a lot of those I wrote them here at home, like on GarageBand. So this album, we called it Shakti, which is like the sacred female energy, because it was a lot of like the stuff I had written here, and it was very like feminine, versus our previous album, which we wrote during the pandemic. That one is like angry and like, everything we were feeling back then, all the aggression and anger and fear and like all those pandemic feelings. So that one is kind of like a whole other concept. And if you look at the artwork, you could see like the male figure and the colors. And then this album it has a female goddess in there, and it's a lot more feminine and soft, and the music is, a lot poppier, I guess, versus the previous album.
Do you have a who does your artwork on your albums?
Oh, so that's our drummer's brother. He's a really talented artist. His name is Rafael Flores, and he's helped us a lot with like our concepts, our visuals. He's designed some of our T-shirts. He even did like anime characters of the band. And then on our last video for Anunnaki, which is coming up on February 9th, so we're gonna be launching the video February 9th. He was there on set, and he was kind of like helping us with like the whole visuals and like just the whole mood of it. And so he's been really helpful in helping us just get our image together.
So there's the other big question I always ask everybody. How did your family uh take you being in a band and into music?
I think they always thought it was just like, like a fad, like, oh, she's going through things.
Yeah.
And at first they were scared my mom would come to the shows with me. Like, that's totally uncool. Imagine you're like 17, 18, trying to act like, you're an adult and you're super cool around all these, metalhead men, and trying to like show you belong here, and then your mom's like right there, and you're kind of like, so that went on for like maybe like 1 or 2 years, where she would come to the shows, and it was kind of like, oh man. But afterwards, I guess she just kind of like realized, that I was for reals and I really wanted to do that. So they were just like, all right, do your thing, and she trusted that I wasn't gonna wild out, and so yeah.
Cool. No, was the other one is do you have a day job?
I do. So I office work.
Do
and
they
and then
know that
I've
you're in the
I've I've
band?
held a job for like this whole time. I've always had a job. I've always done just like office um work, and then I also do jewelry. So I have an online jewelry store, and then I also give like tarot readings. So and it all ties up. A lot of the people that follow the band are into mysticism and spirituality, and then a lot of people that are into my jewelry and that spiritual side of me, they get curious about the music. So I guess it all works out.
Self-promotion. That's the name of the business right there. Self-promotion.
Yes.
So you were talking about this, and you do tarot card readings. So I have to ask you because I bought this for my wife. She does tarot readings too. I buy her tarot cards. You know, there's a David Bowie tarot card deck.
Yes, there
Really? I did not know
is.
that.
I've been wanting it. You
Yeah.
have it?
I got it for her about 6 months ago. I got one that came through the store and I scored it for her. So yeah.
Is it all periods of David Bowie?
Yeah. It's all different versions of David Bowie, and I would show it to you, but I'd literally have to go all the way upstairs, all
I'm
the
gonna
way up.
have to look it up. I'll have to
Yeah,
get that.
yeah.
Right? I know.
So
I'm like Amazon right now.
as soon as this guy brought it in here, he's like, I got some tarot cards you might be interested because I know you buy them for your wife, and I was like, all right. And I open them up, and he has them in his box, and I'm like, the first thing on top is the Starman tarot card set, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have to buy these. And it's bad is that I've bought my wife, I don't know, probably like 20 tarot decks because gotta be supportive husband.
Man, you're an awesome husband.
Yeah.
So sometimes I drive the wife nuts because that's why I'm in the basement right now. No. Because if I stay down here, I don't drive her nuts because she doesn't have to deal with all this bull crap I have setting everywhere. So
Oh, they are on Amazon. I see them right now. I just looked them up.
yep, there
Oh,
you go.
Yeah.
you know what I'm doing after the interview?
Right?
Find your David Bowie. I got her the David Bowie comic book that they put out, and I can't remember who puts it out. I want to say Boom did. No, Opus Comics, I believe, or there's two comic book companies that are putting out comic books based on music. And one of them did the David Bowie, the Dio, and Iron Maiden and Anthrax comics. And then there's another one that does like Disturbed, Exodus. They do a lot of like the thrash metal stuff. And so I bought her that too. So now she has a David Bowie stuff there.
Wow, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
I'm a huge comic book nerd, and now my wife's got to deal with it because I'm like, what do you want? I'm like, I'm gonna buy you a comic book. She's like, I don't want a comic book. Like, it's a David Bowie comic. She's okay. I'll take the David Bowie comic. But I'll have to look that up. If I think about it, I'll go upstairs, take a picture, and send it to you on Instagram there so you can find it.
Yes.
So it's I like the fact that you got your nerdy side, you got your mystical side, you have your musical side, you got your artistic side with your jewelry and stuff like that. Is there any other projects or any other sides of you that people can, that you're trying to get out there?
Yes, one more.
One more.
I also do YouTube videos on spirituality. I haven't shot any in a while just because when I stopped playing and I got like all into spirituality, that time when I wasn't doing music, I was like going to the Hindu temple a lot, volunteering, and then I was filming like a lot of videos. I started with a blog, and then with YouTube and everything, I started just doing YouTube videos. And I did it because when I was young, I've always been interested in like mysticism and like the occult and everything. But back in the day, this is like before internet was like, in the palm of your hands.
Yeah.
It was hard. It was hard to find information, like, good information about all these topics, about like chakras and healing and all these things. And so the only resource I had was like my local library, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, since I wasn't doing music anymore, I thought, well, why don't I pay it forward, since I had a spiritual teacher who helped me a lot. Let me share what I learned, and like hopefully if there's any kids out there who are lost, or adults, anybody who's aching and like really needs help, maybe they'll find some inspiration or some sort of help in my videos. And so that's how I started getting into jewelry, because first it was a blog, then it was like my channel, and then I started making jewelry, and I use like gemstones, and based on all the knowledge that I gained throughout the years. And so that's like another thing that I do. So yeah.
When do you sleep? Do you sleep like 1-2 hours?
I'm actually asleep right now.
You're
No,
actually
I'm
asleep. You're
kidding.
taking micro naps. Oh yeah,
She's astro projecting
I'm
right now.
a
Yeah.
sleeper.
Vanessa's down there. She's doing music. She's at the gym. She's everywhere. I see her all the time too.
You gotta stay busy. You gotta have your passions.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And then there's me. If I could go without sleep, I'd be like, yes, I can get 8 more. I can get 7 more hours worth of
So
stuff
yeah,
done.
so many more
Right?
hours in the day.
Yeah,
I
never
love
enough.
sleep, but I also just want to do everything. And
Yep.
there's not enough hours in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. I do this. I do another podcast. I do a sci-fi show, a Saturday morning cartoon show. I own my own comic book store. I got my youngest son who has autism. I take care of him. And
Whoa.
How was the drum set? Because you got him a
he's
drum set for
killing it.
Christmas.
He'll look at me the other day and he goes, Dad, it's Eye of the Tiger by Survivor. And he's like, dun, 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 dun. And I'm like, dun, dun, dun. I'm like, he's only had it since Christmas. And he's already knows Survivor, Eye of the Tiger. He knows Tom Sawyer from Rush. He does Pantera. He does Megadeth. He's doing, I'm like, what the heck?
Whoa.
And all it started with was he wanted to play drums, and he would go find tins like popcorn tins and stuff. Like, he had it set up as a drum kit, and so he had the lids as your cymbals and your hi-hat and stuff. And he goes, I want a drum kit for Christmas. And I'm like, all right, bud, well, I cannot buy you a regular kit because we would never be able to sleep. So I bought him an electric one. And literally less than 22 hours later, my dog chewed through the power cord.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
so I
The dog's like,
immediately,
I'm not having it. I'm not having this noise.
so I had to order another one, which took another few days. So by the first, he's over there and he'll start playing drums. He'll like over there and he'll be got his headphones on and he's like, and he's got his phone and he's like, and he's like, I'm like, and at first I thought, oh, he's just playing gibberish or something, just trying to get used to it. And he's like, this is Survivor, and I'm like, dun 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 dun. I'm like, and I'm like, oh crap, kid, you're actually playing it. And I was like, I don't know. He's not as fast, so he doesn't have the total rhythm of it yet, but he's definitely playing the proper beats. He's playing the proper drums, and I'm like, damn, bud. I was like, autism power activate, because he every because there's always tell you that every kid that has autism has like an ability, and his was that, evidently. And we're very much, because I've bought him. I can't say I bought him. He's inherited my bass. He's inherited his older brother's guitar, and he's always wanting to, he says guitars just never quite took off, but he's always been fascinated by drums. And then we bought him that kit, and he's taken right off. Now he wants a full kit, and I'm like, you play that for a year, bud, and then I'll get you a real kit. Even though it is a real kit, but it's, he wants the actual drum kit. He had when he was little, but now he's got this and he's taken right off. And I'm like, oh my God, dude. Now he's like, we're in a band, Dad. I'm like, Daddy can't play bass no more, dude. I wish I could. Um, but yeah, he's always telling me that I need to play bass, so he runs over and hands it to me, and I'm like, I can't, bud. Daddy's fingers don't work right anymore, so nerve damage and getting old. So before we get ready to go, upcoming tour dates or anything like that you got going on?
Right now the only shows that we have announced are just, local, like we're playing Dolhut in Anaheim, which is like, just local Rainbow Bar and Grill. We're playing that in March. But we're cooking up some shows in Mexico, so we have a pretty good crowd in Mexico. So we definitely want to do some shows out there, and they're already like in the works, and hopefully we'll be announcing them soon once everything is confirmed. And yeah, so we're really looking forward to it. We're wrapping up a new song, so we're probably going to do the same strategy where if, we're really excited with this song, we'll probably go into studio and it'll be the first song off the new album, because we don't want to wait and like, hold on to it until we can afford a whole new album. We're like, dude, let's just pool our money, get this song out, and then keep writing. So that's what we have going on right now. We're just starting the year, but we already have some shows and we have a new song and we're ready. And a new video coming up February 9th. So
Yes. So I do ask, because you're talking about playing both Mexico and America. Who were more passionate fans?
oh, Mexico.
Mexico?
Definitely. Here in LA, it's like sometimes everybody's too
It's
cool.
hard in LA. Yeah, it's hard.
Right? Everybody's kind of like,
I'm in San Diego, but I'm originally from LA. So yeah,
right? And it's kind of like, you got to work extra
everyone
hard
is
to
way too cool in LA.
very.
I
And
love
Mexico
LA, but
is
they're
like,
cool. Yeah.
yes. So I definitely like Mexico more, and other places. In like we've played in Cuba, and man, people were wild over there. We played in Costa Rica, and people were loving it. And it's like then you come to LA, and it's kind of like it's kind of like a downer.
I I think it's, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I think it's because LA is so there, everything's already there. It's like, it's just another thing.
It's also the
Yeah.
culture too,
Yeah.
everyone like shows, they're very just like, okay, if you get a head bob, that means they love you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're gonna get. But you go other places and you're gonna get that energy. It's a cultural thing for sure. And I Mexico too, like they love the music down there.
Yeah.
It's very passionate. So
All right. Now the big ones here. Where can people find you?
Everywhere. Well, we're like all over social media. So our handle is Coatl, Coatl music. So with that handle, you find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, um, YouTube. The only one I'm not in is X, Twitter. Like, nah, I'm not really into it. But the other ones were there. And then as far as listening, we're like on all streaming platforms. So Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, and then we have the whole albums on YouTube as well. And we also have our own website and shop. So if anybody wants like merch or anything like that, or like physical copies of the album, we do have those available at our shop. And our website is, again, coatmusic.com.
Now, do you signed music? So people can ask for a signed copy of the CD, or is it?
Yeah, yeah, we do. So if anybody wants, like, or even like custom, since we do our own designs, if anybody's like, oh, I want like a shirt with this album cover or with like this picture, like I really like this picture of the band, can you make it into a shirt? Sometimes we'll be like, yeah, sure, because there's a company called Printful, which is the one we use for our shirts, where it's like on demand. So you could print pretty much anything you want, and it could be one quantity one versus back in the day where you had to buy your own merch and it was like 500 Coatl shirts that never sold. Now it's kind of like cool, you go one by one as in demand as they come.
So you can legit go to their website and order a custom one of a kind shirt from them. That's right. Um, so any last thing you'd like anything you'd like to say to up and coming musicians?
um don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. Time is precious, and don't wait for anyone. If somebody is not ready, but you are, and everybody else is, if it's, 4 out of 5 that are ready, go for it. Because, we made that mistake. We've been doing this for 20 years. We should have been like, I feel like we should have been at a different level, but we didn't have the ambition. We didn't see it as a business, and we waited, you know, too long, and waited for somebody to, we waited for that one manager to scoop us up and, make us famous. Nah, your success is going to come from you, from your work. So don't waste any time, do it all,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Life is short.
yeah, and right now so many people are becoming famous and touring, and they have no record deal, no management.
Because you gotta
And
Exactly.
hustle.
yep, you
God
just got to do
hustle
it
it.
yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
And
And we didn't understand that back in the day. We thought, oh, all we got to do is, play awesome and wait for it to come. No, you got to
That's
hustle it.
because you watch those movies where it's about the band, and they play that one show and that one dive bar,
Yes.
yep,
and there's that one guy in there that's like, I'm gonna make you famous. Where's
Mm-hmm.
that guy? Right? Where is he?
Mm-hmm.
he's right there. You're inside of them, is what you are. The only person that can make you is you, and you're the ones that know your music. You know that you know your music, you know your audience, and you run with it. Because so many, I've talked to some of these older bands, and a band I absolutely loved when I was young was a band called White Trash. But they were so different because they legit, there was like two guys that were metal guys, two guys that were like classic rock guys. Then they had a horn section. So there was like, they called it,
Oh,
but no one knew where to put them on tour. No one knew who to, like, oh, we want to send you out with this band, but we don't know what bands to put you with to send you out to go tour. We don't know what direction to put you in. We don't know where to send you over here. And now that you're doing it yourself, you go like, okay, you start reaching out, you find clubs, you start doing it, and you just make it yourself, and it's all yours. And then you don't have somebody that you got to pay 20% to, and it's
yep.
all your money. So, like the commercial says, it's my money and I want it now. Um, um, where can people find your jewelry before I forget to ask?
Oh, okay. So my jewelry, my brand name is Eternal Bliss. So I wanted bliss, but it was taken. So I had to add the ed at the end. So it's Eternal Bliss, and you if you look that up on YouTube, that's my channel as well. And I do videos in both English and Spanish. So anybody who's out there looking for, just information on anything mystical, then I'm there. And if anybody wants a reading, I'm here. So.
And can we use some of your music for the outro for this episode?
Yeah, of course. Use whatever you want. Video, music, whatever you need.
Cool. Vanessa, you got any questions anymore?
No, I found the jewelry here and I love jewelry, so I know what I'm going to
There we
be
go.
doing, going shopping.
Yay!
Yeah.
So, we want to thank you so much for coming on the show. You've been a blast. Very cool learning, about, your music and where you came from and all that funness. And when you're ready, if you want to drop by sometime to tell us about your new album or whatever, let us know. We'll get you back on, even if it's only for a few minutes on another show. Everything. So, but
Thank you.
thank you. Tell your band thank you very much because the music is great. I'm digging it. So I'm going to go. I have to deal with paying Christmas bills off. Then once I have money again, I will probably be ordering something. I need to look. Do you have vinyl?
I do. Well, Isra has a lot of vinyls.
Yeah.
He's a collector.
Yeah, I got vinyl, and
I'm sure your wife likes jewelry too, just FYI.
Yeah,
Just
I'm going to buy
throwing that
something
out
for the
there.
wife too. Yes.
And I do custom work.
Oh,
So
I
if you
see.
want
There you go.
something special.
Valentine's Day's coming up.
Yes.
She wants certain stone mixes and certain colors and whatever, I do it all.
I was a good husband last year. I spent a lot of money and took my wife so she could go Stevie Nicks
Oh.
for her first and only time. And it was in a weird arena in Kentucky, and she is afraid of heights, but she was crying because she finally got to see Stevie Nicks. And I was so happy that I was
Aw.
able to get her the tickets to go see Stevie Nicks. So, but because that's the husband I am.
Aw.
I absolutely love my wife. I would love to have her on the show to talk with people, but I don't know if she's home from work yet. Um, but again, thank you so very much. We will put all your links to all the stuff at the end of the episode. So we'll put like the links to all your Facebook, Twitter, well, not Twitter, but Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and all that stuff. And I'll also put your store and stuff at the end too. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. It's been awesome. I had a great time. And Vanessa, please send me your music so I can support. I can listen to it. I'm pretty sure it's awesome.
Angry, yeah.
And we're neighbors. I come down to
Yeah.
SD and let me know where you're
Yeah.
playing so I come down and support.
Oh yeah, you definitely got a
It's
fan
important.
in me. So, yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, and thank you for having me on the show. Please let me know when the interview is on Facebook or not Facebook, on YouTube, so I can promote it and have people come over and sub.
This will drop Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, so I'll make sure to promote it.
Yep. We had one that was supposed to be before you, but they had to cancel and reschedule, so you got bumped up. So that schedule. So, but I saw your Pokemon. What Pokemon do you have?
Oh, it's Eevee.
Eevee.
Let me see if I could. Can you see
Oh
it?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. How cute.
Yeah, look, it's Chakras and like Eevee because he's like evolution.
Yeah,
so it's like
evolution,
okay.
Yeah.
So cute.
I'm not gonna lie. I've been playing the hell out of Pokemon Go, and I finally got an Umbra and a Umbreon and what's the other one? I'm brain farting here. Jolteon, Flareon, Vaporeon.
I can't say his name. Vaporeon.
Yeah. I was sitting there. I keep evolving them, and I can't get one to evolve. I keep getting the same three. But thank you so very much. You're awesome, and look forward to if you ever get to Ohio, I will be there to see you, or Indiana, Kentucky, wherever I'm in a
surrounding area.
Yeah, usually I used to be a 2-hour radius because I was old, and now it's like all the bands are like a 3-hour radius, so now I got to expand out 3 hours. But you take care. You have yourself a great night, and we'll talk. I will send you a message, and I'll send you a picture of that book too, so you can find
Yes, please. All
their book.
right. Well, thank you.
Great. Thank
It was
you.
great. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too. Take care. Night.
Bye.
Bye.
Corruption is served. Your life is nothing but numbers on the chart. Running away, Maya's alive. Human experiment.
Before your eyes, yours is lost, you're a dawn, but we paid the price.